We may be suffering from a supersize crisis in Britain, but in the United States there's an epidemic. By 2030, over half of all US states are predicted to have obesity levels of 50%. So Dr. Christian is in America's fattest city to investigate the shocking impact obesity is having.
Here in the US, it's been estimated that obesity causes up to 300,000 deaths every year.
And those deaths are happening earlier. A study has shown that a BMI of 40 to 45 can shorten your lifespan by 8 to 10 years.
But here in McAllen, I want to dig deeper. In a city where the local healthcare system is struggling to cope under the highest incidence of weight-related illness in the country, I want to see how obesity is affecting this population, even in death.
At the Kreidler Funeral Home, this involves dealing with bigger and bigger bodies.
We have to inform the family that we have measured from elbow to elbow on the body and it will not fit in a normal casket.
And supersized coffins are not just a transatlantic phenomenon. In Britain, the demand for outsized caskets has increased by an estimated 5% in the past 10 years.
And I presume you have had to change your equipment over the years, have you, to cope with the increased weight of bodies?
We used to lift them by hand and place them in the casket, but as people started getting larger, we needed to have a lift mechanism to place them in the casket without hurting our backs.
And even after the oversized bodies have been placed in their caskets, there remains the problem of burying them.
These are liners that are used in the cemetery. This would be the standard that most people's casket would be placed in for burial at the cemetery.
And so this one is the next size up, but this one now?
This one is the biggest one.
And so this really is enormous, isn't it?
This is the largest. This is the one that's 40 inches across. You can see that it barely fits in the grave space, and in some cemeteries, they might require the family to actually buy 2 spaces to bury this in the middle of the 2 spaces to prevent encroaching on someone else's grave space.
And how often are you using these size liners?
Unfortunately, we had to use it for a young person that was 625 pounds.
625 pounds is sort of 45 stone. That's, yeah.
This was totally unexpected. The person was only 18, and they just did not want the public to see what was going on.
In Britain, burial space is at a premium as our cemeteries are already over-congested. But here in McAllen, they're also having problems with their cremations.
This is our retort. This is where we do the cremations. You can see with this small opening, if a person is morbidly obese, they might not fit into the retort.
So what do you do? If you have a body that you have to now get in here and it's too big, what are your options?
Well, we don't have a lot of options. In some areas, I have read they are allowed to remove limbs to facilitate placing the body in the retort. I personally would think that would be very, very distressing to the family and be distressing to me too.
So you would have to do that, pretend. That would be your job?
Yeah, that would be part of our job as the funeral director.
To cut the arms and legs off?
Well, or the arms, the shoulders, you know, and I've never had to do that, and I don't really want to have to do that.
I mean, it's horrendous, isn't it?
Yes, it is, and it causes a lot of ill will sometimes between the family and the funeral home because we have no control over that person that died.
If you're not overly worried about the health implications of being overweight, I think this will really make you think twice when you come to the end of your life. Do you want all this indignity, or do you want a fairly easy way into the ground?
Well, I would hope that people that see this realize I've got a problem or somebody in my family has a problem, and we need to try to get them healthy.
I think people will. John, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
As a doctor, I tend to focus on the health implications of being overweight, but this trip to the funeral parlour and to the cemetery here has shown me that it has far wider-reaching implications for friends and family too. Obesity really does affect you from cradle to grave, and I hope this is a sobering lesson for us back in the UK.
Dr. Christian wants to ensure that we never have to deal with the extreme situations that he's seen in McAllen. He's brought together 8 super skinnies and 8 supersizers, who he'll pair up and send to the feeding clinic for a 2-day diet swap. He hopes they'll each learn to tackle their own dreadful eating habits.
Julie, come on over. So, Julie, you are going to be swabbed with Zoe.
Hi, nice to meet you. Hi, how are you? I'm 42, nearly 43.
I suppose it's just as scary for both of us, so I'm sure we'll be fine.
You're going to get shocked with some of the things I eat, but never mind.
Just to warn you, I do drink a lot of energy drinks as well.
Oh no,
Yeah,
it's
so
disgusting.
she looked really uncomfortable to be there, and I just really felt bad for her.
She's thin, but her body is like the size of my legs.
Julie can't whip up a healthy diet for herself, and nor can fussy eater Zoe, whose eating habits are already affecting her health and her energy levels. But I'm hoping by pairing them up, they'll come up with a recipe for success.
At nearly 24 stone, Julie Menzies has a body mass index, or BMI, of 59. This is calculated by dividing her weight by her height squared. A healthy BMI is 18.5 to 25, so Julie is dangerously overweight. She's an award-winning baker, but when it comes to her diet, Julie's a glutton for foods high in fat and sugar.
We do a lot of baking, home baking, which is the thing that I love more than anything. I just go into my own wee world.
Julie's world has revolved around all things fat and sugary since she was a child. Her parents owned a sweet shop.
Mum and Dad made homemade ice cream, which, if I close my eyes long enough, I can still taste. It was just to die for.
And she doesn't just like sugary snacks. At home, she cooks huge meals for husband Alistair, daughter Amanda, and twin boys Ian and Jamie, and always uses plenty of full-fat ingredients.
I'll come home and I'll make something like curry or fajitas, or I've maybe prepped a lasagna the night before. We mostly eat the same things, but I probably would have more on my plate than what they would. I just think it's the portion control that's the biggest problem for me.
And after her family have gone to bed, Julie's fat and sugar fest continues.
Why I don't just go to my bed is beyond me.
Thick rolls of fat around Julie's neck restrict her breathing when she sleeps and have led to an ear-splitting snoring problem. This had unforeseen consequences when she fell asleep in her spare room.
And I also commented the next day that it was probably the best night's sleep I'd had in a long time because he hadn't heard me snoring all night. Now it's all the time.
We're actually more like brother and sister than husband and wife.
Julie also has elevated blood pressure and cholesterol levels, a major worry, as her father died of a heart attack aged only 66, 3 years before she married Alistair.
Dad not walking me down the aisle was the biggest thing, and it's not how anyone would ever want for their kids. And if I wasn't around to see my daughter married, or my boys married and have their children, I don't want that. I really don't want that.
If you hear her coming down the stairs, she's really, just you can hear her struggling. I really think she'll be in a coffin in the next 10 years.
The diet swap at Dr. Christian's feeding clinic can't come soon enough for Julie. And the same could be said for 24-year-old Zoe Hughes-Blinston. This busy fashion manager is a model employee with a frame to match.
I had been mistaken for a mannequin. An old lady walked past me and she went to her friend, "Oh, I thought that was a real person there." And I just turned around and went, "I am a real person." And she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I thought you were one of the mannequins." And I was just like, "No, I'm real."
Zoe's hectic job means she needs plenty of calories, but her low BMI of just 17.3 proves she's not eating enough.
Sometimes when I'm quite busy, an energy drink and a cigarette will help keep me going, just fill me up a little bit so I don't feel as hungry.
And when she does eat, Zoe chooses high-fat options, which she always picks at.
I will separate my vegetables from my meat, and then I feel that it's not contaminating it, as it were. I'm starting to feel full now.
And Zoe never finishes meals, as eating makes her feel sick. Zoe's fussy yet fat-based diet with no fruit or vegetables means she's missing out on vital nutrients. This is damaging her health and her appearance.
I am very vain and I don't like my hands. I feel my hands are quite skeletal. I always wear a necklace because I feel that my collarbone is on show quite a lot. I like looking slim and I'd like to look healthy with being slim.
For Zoe, this is crunch time. She doesn't want to be fat, but she can't stay this thin.
I haven't really put much thought into it of what's going to happen to me in the next 10 years. But I suppose if I do carry on the way that I'm eating now, it will affect my health quite dramatically.
By having Zoe swap diets in the feeding clinic with Supersize Julie, Dr. Christian hopes both women will learn how extreme their eating habits have become. But before they go in, He's sending Julie stateside to see the appalling consequences of piling on the pounds. 23 stone 11 Julie Menzies from Kirkcudbright on the Scottish borders has come across the Atlantic to get a glimpse of her potential future.
I'm nervous, but it's the first day of the rest of my life.
She's here in St Louis, Missouri to learn valuable lessons from 34 stone Stephanie Reed. Stephanie has managed to lose an incredible 8 stone since suffering a cardiac arrest 2 years ago.
That's my big boy.
But her brush with death means she's now housebound, surviving on protein drinks and unable to play with her young grandchildren.
I'm Stephanie. I'm Julie. Would you like to have a seat?
Yeah, thank you. When I first met Stephanie, I thought, she's big. It was quite shocking to think that if I don't do something about this, that's where I'm going to be just shortly.
Would you like to see my apartment?
Yeah, yeah.
And how I get around?
Yeah.
This is my bedroom where I sleep.
And Julie is immediately upset to see how much Stephanie is struggling.
Have to take my time.
Okay.
Here we go in the bathroom. And see how narrow it is.
It's small. Yeah, it's a small bathroom.
Just imagine one day I was in here, I was getting out of the shower, and I got too much water on the floor, and I slipped. And it was good that I had my phone in here with me, because I had to call the paramedics and the fire department in order for me to get out of the bathroom. I was in here naked.
Yeah, that's not nice.
No, it isn't. This is one of my little exercises that I do.
Whilst Julie struggles to get upstairs at home, Stephanie struggles with her exercise, a brief walk to the lift. Meanwhile, across town, Dr. Christian is planning to pay Julie a surprise visit to check whether his shock tactics are working.
I've paired Julie up with Stephanie. Stephanie is slowly learning to walk again, but she has a whole host of medical problems. She's certainly pretty immobile and pretty dependent on other people, and I'm really hoping that that is going to shock Julie.
And the shock starts when Dr. Christian turns up to join them.
And I'm not really. Hello.
Julie.
Hi.
So tell me, how's life been?
I've had one major eye-opener coming here, I'll tell you.
But I do want you to see the sort of difficulties that people have, and how easy it is to let the weight creep on and creep on and creep on, and I bet you're going to tell us that.
I thought everything was all right. I'm not getting any bigger. You know, this isn't happening. Food was my comfort zone. It was my friend. It was my companion.
At the moment, I think I'm lucky in a way. I am majorly overweight, but I have no health issues at the moment. I have no diabetes, no high blood pressure, no heart problems or anything.
But that's probably what Stephanie said, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow.
I do it tomorrow. I do it.
And when does tomorrow come?
It never came.
Now that Julie has witnessed Stephanie's horrendous problems, Dr. Christian is keen to take her aside to check his message has hit home.
Seeing how she struggles walking up that corridor, I mean, that if I got like that, that would totally change my life. I wouldn't be able to do my work, and it's my work that I absolutely love. I love cooking, I love baking.
One thing you're going to have to do is avoid temptation. You've got to be really strict with yourself. But you've seen Stephanie, and she has broken a load of very difficult habits, and she really is turning things around, so you can do it too. Okay, well, look, I'm going to leave you here and say goodbye, and I'll see you back in England. All right, Julie, good luck with it.
And for Julie, it's also time to say goodbye.
Pleasure
For
meeting
such a
you.
long way.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Have a safe trip back.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
It's just opened my eyes to how bad I live my life and how I don't want to be like some of the people I've seen over here.
I hope Julie loses all the weight that she wants to lose and maintain a healthy life.
Back in the UK, the feeding clinic is ready and waiting for Supersize Julie and Super Skinny Zoe. Dr. Christian's hoping that by consuming each other's dreadful diets, they'll both be shocked into changing their eating habits and rituals. Fussy yet fatty eater Zoe doesn't mind being slim, but the little she does eat is high in saturated fats and low in vitamins and nutrients. Combined with her cigarettes and energy drinks, this will badly affect her health, looks and fertility in the future.
Why are you here?
Because I want to put on weight. I want to be a healthy weight.
Tell me a little bit about your eating habits.
I have food separately on the plate. So if you give me food and it's all mushed together, I don't know how I'm going to separate it.
Why did you start doing that?
I used to do it when I was a child.
But now you're an adult and it will not kill you to eat some mixed together food. It's really important as well that you eat more variety because you are missing out on an awful lot of important nutrients and you will start to develop disease because of that.
I didn't realise how serious it was, really.
So I think you've got your work cut out for you, actually. Unlearning stuff is much harder than learning stuff, I tell you that now.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
Zoe, good luck with it.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, bye.
Fat and sugar fan Julie has a BMI that's 3 times higher than it should be, but her transatlantic trip to see housebound Stephanie has vividly demonstrated the extreme consequences of overeating.
Before I left you in America, I asked you to think about how you were going to break the habit of your secret eating.
I think I need to plan my meals more, doing an internet shopping rather than just going and buying things off the cuff.
I think that's a really good idea, actually. Your weight, I know, has affected you physically, but what about with your relationship?
I sleep in the spare room. Oh, God. That puts paid to any form of relationship.
Are you sort of avoiding the issue because you don't like yourself very much? If you don't like yourself very much, the thought of someone else liking you, particularly in a sexual way, seems alien to you, bizarre. And so you sort of push them away when perhaps actually they'd be quite happy for a bit now and again.
I think you probably would be, so would I, if I'm really honest. But yeah, so it's something I would like to change.
But let that be more incentive to you as well. All right, and the best of luck with this. Julie, it's nice to see you again. All right, bye-bye.
It's time for Supersize and Superskinny to swap diets, and their first meal is breakfast.
Quite a lot there.
This is a good day.
Julie's got Zoe a full-fat banana muffin, scones thickly spread with butter and jam, plus orange juice and coffee. While Zoe's offering is a tiny portion of sweetened cereal, a milkshake and Earl Grey tea. It's a diet of fat and sugar, Supersize and Superskinny style.
I just don't do sugar and tea. It's disgusting.
For a picky eater, Zoe polishes off her muffin surprisingly quickly.
Right, that's one down.
Did you enjoy that?
It was actually really nice. It's quite moist. I don't like jam and butter.
And it's not just the food that's a challenge.
Oh, God.
Both Supersizer and Superskinny are baffled how the other has reached their current size.
For me, I just don't understand how people can get so big.
I look at you and I just think, man, there's absolutely nothing off you. But then you must be damaging your health as much as I am, just in different ways.
Amazingly, super skinny Zoe manages to finish all of Julie's breakfast, even the jam and butter she hates.
I thought she'd done really well. There was 2 big glasses of orange juice for a start.
I feel actually a bit sick and full now. I never would normally eat that much.
She's going to get a shock at lunchtime.
And here it is.
I'm really sorry.
Zoe faces a huge pile of rice with a tomato and vegetable sauce, while Julie has just half a sandwich. But the fatty food keeps on coming with Julie's second lunch: chicken goujons, chips and bread roll.
Considering what I had for breakfast, I'm so not hungry.
I'm absolutely horrified looking at it.
Well, at least it's vegetables.
Well, it's homemade. It's not out of a packet, but...
It's a shame I don't really like vegetables. When I was a kid, my mum used to try and hide vegetables under things I would eat, like meat, and even now, like this is just a big heap of mess to me. Whereas I would have the rice probably down one side and the sauce down the other. How do you feel about eating my lunch?
Honestly, just eating half a sandwich, I actually feel as if I've had enough.
A great result for Julie, but Zoe's struggling.
I get bored of food quite easily. If it's something like this doesn't have really a lot of flavour, so I won't want to eat it anymore. Even if I put ketchup on it and stuff, it would still be the same. I think if I ate any more, I'd actually go be sick.
The thing about the boring food, I don't get that at all. Yeah, weird.
Despite leaving most of her massive lunch, Zoe faces yet more fat and sugar in a snack of chocolate, sweets and shortbread. Julie, meanwhile, gets a small but fatty pepperoni stick.
Why would you eat stuff like this? It's not even real meat though, is it?
It tastes nice though.
Oh, God. Oh, sweet. It's disgusting.
Despite some noticeable dislikes, Julie and Zoe's diet diary show they both enjoy a wide range of high-fat foods. So for the first time ever, Dr. Christian is inviting both Supersize and Superskinny to witness his recipe for disaster.
Zoe, what sort of things do you see there that you quite enjoy?
I love sausages, chocolate, cheese.
What about you, Julie?
Yeah, the same. I really like pasta. Love chocolate.
All of this food contains fat, and there's one type of fat in particular that I want to talk to you about, and that is saturated fat. We'd like you to have no more than about 20 grams of saturated fat a day. Zoe, you are getting 30 grams a day.
Oh my God.
And Julie, you are getting 60 grams a day. So 150% more, 300% more in your diets.
Despite their differences, Julie and Zoe have a lot in common. You guessed it, fat. Dr. Christian wants to make their favourite foods less appetising by mixing them all up in a blender.
So let's start putting all of this saturated fat into here.
Fats typically make up 33% of the energy in a healthy diet, but just 10% should be saturated. These saturated fats are found in animal products, processed meals, and some vegetable oils, including those used in chocolate.
Come and have a look. What do we think? So you're both looking fairly disgusted at all this.
It just looks foul, it smells awful.
I wouldn't even feed that to my dog.
What's interesting, Zoe, with you is you are a very fussy eater, and yet what you eat isn't particularly discerning at all, is it, actually?
No.
In fact, let me tell you a little bit more about the overall quantities. Zoe, what I've got here are bottles of oil, 22 litres. These represent the total amount of saturated fat that you're getting in your diet. Julie, for you, I'm afraid it is a slightly worse picture. As you can see, 47 litres of saturated fat you're getting a year here. What do you think?
It's awful. Absolutely disgusting.
And Dr. Christian feels Julie and Zoe need to learn how their high saturated fat intake can lead to certain cancers, and especially to cardiovascular disease.
This is why I brought you here, and it's why I'm going on about saturated fat particularly. What we're looking at here is a cross-section through a coronary artery. This is all fat, yellow fat. This here is the artery. This should be the inside diameter of that artery, but as you can see, it's filled up with this thick yellow-like substance, narrowing it down so the hole is now only that. The consequences of that? Well, in this person, it was death, probably from a heart attack. All right? Julie, what's up? Is this because you've got a history of heart disease in your family? Who was it who had heart disease in your family? Your dad. It's really important for both of you that you change your diets from today. Heart attacks are not inevitable. Just because you have heart disease in your family doesn't mean you will have a heart attack. Adopt a healthier approach to eating, do a bit of exercise, stop smoking. Heart disease becomes much less of a risk.
That was an even bigger wake-up call than some of the other stuff I've had.
I was quite shocked at how little space there was in the artery for blood to move, and so that was quite shocking.
I think we're both basically heart attacks waiting to happen.
And at dinner, Dr. Christian's warnings are particularly appropriate, as they've both chosen sausages. Zoe gets 4 large ones with cabbage and mash, while Julie has chipolatas with microwaved rice.
So how did you feel about all the saturated fat stuff today?
Pretty disgusting.
I didn't realise that my diet was so unhealthy.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I expected to be told something like that, but I'd never considered that it could affect you in that way as well.
I think I might move on to the ice cream now.
You're starting to play with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Dr. Christian's demonstration has meant that fatty, sugary ice cream and chocolate have lost their appeal.
After eating so much food today, I'm starting to get a bit tired for eating so much. I think I've had enough now. How about you? You haven't even finished.
I know. I surprisingly, I've had enough today. I think I actually feel quite contented with what I've had today, which is I don't think I've ever felt like that.
So at the end of day one in the feeding clinic, whilst Julie is managing on small portions and feeling full quicker, Zoe is still picking at her plateful. She has a long way to go. 23 stone 11 fat and sugar fan Julie has spent a day with fussy yet fatty eater Zoe. They've both struggled with each other's diets, and now there's another breakfast swap full of fat and sugar. Zoe makes a determined start on her scrambled egg on toast, mugs of coffee and cheese scone. Julie loves sweets, but she hates all the sugar in Zoe's cereal, tea and energy drink.
This is horrible, but I'm thirsty, so I'm going to drink it. How do you feel about having 3 cups of coffee?
It is quite a lot.
You're really bad for like picking out the food rather than just eating it.
It's probably because I don't really like it.
All right, okay.
Picking at it rather than eating it properly like an adult. Yeah, I've eaten as much as I can without actually wanting to go and be sick.
Breakfast over, and Dr. Christian has suggested both women look back at old photos of themselves in the hope they'll uncover the origins of their unhealthy eating habits.
I would say from here, from about 13, 14, I have just continued to grow and grow. This is my wedding day. Unfortunately, I had to get my wedding dress made. When I look at it now, I just think it's horrible. There's just absolutely no shape to it whatsoever. Maybe when I get the weight off, I would really quite like to renew my vows, but in a nice, slim-fitting dress that I probably should have been wearing had I done something about this years ago.
I was probably about 8 years old in this photo, and this is when I was probably being bullied at primary school. And I was the only girl in my year that had school dinners. Everyone else had packed lunches. So the boys would always comment on how little I ate, and they would make fun of me quite a lot. So because they were making fun of me, it made me not want to eat in front of them. Right. This one was when I was about 16 years old, so I've been doing GCSEs. As you can see, I'm still quite thin. At school, people would think I had an eating disorder. It did make me feel bad about myself, because it's not nice.
Why didn't you eat in front of people? What made you, stop doing that?
I didn't want to be judged for not eating, but then it made me not want to eat because I didn't want to be judged. Just constantly being bullied from primary school right to 16 years old, it was really bad. It wasn't even just people at school, like family members and stuff would go up to my mum or my nan with concerns about how I looked and stuff, and they're like, no, she's fine, and they always thought I had an eating disorder as well. So it did make me feel really bad about myself.
I was never bullied at school, thankfully, so I can't even begin to imagine how that must have felt.
I've always had people comment about my weight. I can handle it a lot better now than I could then, because I was only a teenager then. Kids are bloody horrible, and they bully anyone about anything. And it was just my weight that they decided to pick on me for.
Being bullied about having an eating disorder has deeply affected Zoe. Journalist and former anorexia sufferer Emma Wolfe understands what it's like to suffer from an eating disorder. She's been investigating the range of problems and meeting those affected.
I write my weekly column, and every week I get lots of emails from sufferers. And once in a while, I get an email from a man. And what's really interesting is that there's so much stigma around men and eating disorders, even more than for women. Both in the diagnosis, getting that diagnosis from their doctor, but also in getting the treatment. I think it's a major taboo for men.
Around 180,000 men in the UK suffer from an eating disorder. And over the past 10 years, the number of hospital admissions for male sufferers has more than doubled. As a woman, Emma struggled to get help with her own eating disorder. And now she's meeting long-time sufferer Daniel to get an insight into the male experience.
I think I was aware quite young, around the age of 8 or 9. I was really conscious of my shape and my size, and by the time I was in my late teens, it was, I would say, obsessive. For many years, I would binge and purge 7, 8 times a day, and then I would go through periods of complete starvation. You know, people say to me, well, you know, did you receive bad treatment? And I say, there was no treatment. I went to a health clinic and asked for some advice, and they gave me a pamphlet that said, if you drop below a certain BMI, you will stop having periods. Well, if I'm having periods, then, you know, there's something seriously wrong. But it sort of adds to that belief that this isn't happening because men don't get this.
So, Daniel, tell me a little bit about your eating disorders and when they all began.
I was about 8 years old, and I remember just feeling incredibly uncomfortable with food and having this feeling of not being able to stop eating. And then by the time I was 16, I started using slimming tablets. I then started making myself vomit and then went down to about 7.5 stone.
With no treatment, Daniel's eating disorder continued throughout his 20s.
I was already taking 80 laxatives a day.
80?
For about
a day?
At Christmas 2011, Daniel hit rock bottom.
I took about 1,000 laxatives between Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve.
And what happened?
I just remember feeling really hot and very sweaty, and felt very numb down my left arm and pains kind of here. And I just laid on the sofa and I just thought, this is it.
Really?
This major health scare was when Daniel realised he couldn't cope on his own.
How did you go about getting help?
I went to see my GP. I was willing to be referred to the eating disorders clinic, and just decided I cannot go on. This is bigger than me. This is stronger than me. I can't do this alone.
I think with girls, you know, if they lose weight, there's an immediate alarm bells go off. But maybe with men, when they lose weight, that isn't the first thought, that people don't immediately think of an eating disorder.
They don't put two and two together because, you know, men don't get this.
It's really brought it home to me how many more barriers there are as a man to getting the right diagnosis, and also to getting the right treatment.
In her search to find out more, Emma meets Sam Thomas, founder of the charity Men Get Eating Disorders Too. He runs interactive workshops to teach professionals how to deal with and treat male sufferers.
Well, having had an eating disorder myself, bulimia, I'd recovered probably about the age of 21, and reflecting on my own experience, I realised that I can't be the only man in the world with an eating disorder.
Suffering from bulimia throughout his teens, Sam reached out for professional help.
Back then, it's just like 10 years ago, there was lots of literature aimed at girls, and even the literature then, it was saying she as a sufferer. I did go to the doctor and actually say that, very articulately, what I was going through, and that particular doctor just diagnosed me with depression and seemed to ignore the bulimia, and I believed that, and I thought, OK, with the doctor, you must know. And that's really how the project came about, because when I looked online, there was nothing for men. Professionals need awareness and they need education because, of course, men with eating disorders is on the rise and they're starting to see more men in their services at their drop-in centres. But also look at how to improve professional practice so that they can confidently treat or support men with eating disorders so that men can access care more easily.
Sam's workshop's doing a really, really important thing, I think. It's highlighting to youth workers and healthcare professionals that there are men out there with eating disorders and that they need help too. I think the more awareness can be raised, the better for men like Sam and like Daniel too.
If you're a man suffering from an eating disorder, or you know someone who could be, please get in touch with Men Get Eating Disorders Too. Or for more information, visit channel4.com/supersize. Back in the feeding clinic, it's lunchtime. With a large portion of chunky tomato soup, a chocolate chip bar and a huge cheese and ham panini for Zoe.
Again, it's like 2 meals for one.
Yeah, sorry.
Meanwhile, Julie has a tiny baguette, crisps, yoghurt and 2 energy drinks.
I mean, I know I obviously like things with sugar in them, but these are just, it's like drinking a sugar cube, it's disgusting.
The onion in this is really strong.
Sorry.
It's making me feel a bit sick.
You don't like onion?
Not really.
I'm actually sitting eating these crisps at the moment thinking I don't even want them because I don't need them. The sandwich was enough.
So what suddenly changed for you to feel full and that you don't want it anymore.
The look of sheer horror on your face when you see how much food gets put in front of you. And really that picture yesterday of the artery is just etched in the back of my head.
Mm. Is he okay?
During their first meal, Julie and Zoe couldn't understand each other's problems, but their time in the feeding clinic has really brought them together.
Is it because of your dad?
It just scares me that could happen so easily. It's not just for me, for you as well.
As evening falls, it's time for their final meal together. Childlike portion picker Zoe is faced with a massive chicken stir-fry, whilst Julie gets a tiny plate of pasta.
This is the last supper.
Yeah, our last meal together. I'm hoping that when I go back home, I'll be able to break out of these eating habits that I've been doing for years. Picking at my food and actually trying different foods and actually sitting down and making time to eat rather than just rushing around all the time. And then after talking to Dr. Christian, it did kind of make me realise that, yeah, I'm just being a bit silly.
One of the things I think I've learned actually is to, most definitely, is to eat slower. Eating slower, I think, has made me feel fuller. So if I get the portion right and the time scale that I eat it in, then it should hopefully make a difference. So.
Although Julie and Zoe have again struggled with their meals, they both seem to have learnt valuable lessons. Dr. Christian has healthy eating plans specifically designed for them.
So, there you go. That one's yours.
Thank you.
Julie, that one is for you. And good luck to the both of you.
Julie will be on 2,000 calories a day, with portion sizes, fatty foods, sweets and salt significantly reduced. It's a change in lifestyle, not a diet, ensuring the weight comes off and stays off. Zoe will be on 2,500 calories a day. She needs to stop her fussy eating and replace those fatty foods and sugary drinks with slow-releasing energy foods, like wholemeal bread and fruit and veg.
If I hadn't seen it from my own eyes, I would never believe how bad I eat. Whatever is in this plan, I am going to follow to the letter to make it all work, and the results will be good.
I have found the past couple of days quite challenging, being forced to eat something that I wouldn't normally eat, but I am determined to do my diet plan. Good luck, Julie.
Yep, you too. I hope it all works out for you. It's been lovely to meet you.
Lovely meeting you.
Julie and Zoe now have 2 months to change their diets. It's been nearly 2 months since fat and sugar fan Julie and fussy yet fatty eater Zoe left the feeding clinic. And it's now time to see if they've stayed true to their promises and stuck to their diet plans.
I have been eating constantly through the day, like snacking, breakfast, lunch, afternoon snack, dinner, evening snacks. I'm hoping that it will make a big improvement.
Nice to see you. Welcome. Have you been?
I've been really well, thank you.
You look very well.
Thank you.
Have you found the eating plan?
I was quite surprised at how quickly I managed to get into the habit of eating that much food, and I'm getting out of the little behaviours I used to do as well. So I think
You were an incredibly fussy eater, weren't you?
Yes.
And that eating plan was really going to have to stop that from happening. Now, I had to give you a really good talking to about saturated fat, because you had a lot of it in your old diet, didn't you? Have you managed to cut that down?
yes, I have. I'm eating, when I do eat meat, it's lean meat. I don't eat ready meals anymore. I'm actually reading the back of food now to see how much saturated fats there is in them, because I know how much I need per day now. And if it's too high, then I'll just put it back and look for something else to eat.
Wow.
I'm a little bit nervous just because I just don't like scales. What I've been doing is definitely working, so what the scale says is not necessarily as important. It's how I feel about myself.
Julie, hello. You're looking very well, spectacularly well. So I was going to ask you how you've got on with the eating plan, but I kind of can work it out. You got on all right, haven't you?
I think I've done okay with the eating plan, a lot better than I thought I would do, if I'm really honest. I don't have any of the fried things at my work. I don't have paninis or anything. I've not had Chinese. I found it quite easy.
Brilliant.
I think.
It's supposed to be easy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel as if I've missed out on anything at all. I don't feel hungry. I've just been shown how to break it all down into the right portion sizes and bump it up with good things rather than bad things.
What are you doing exercise-wise?
I go to Aquasize once a week. I have started walking the dog, and I cannot believe these words are coming out of my mouth, but I have joined the gym.
Wow.
I know, I never thought I would ever say that. I'm just generally a more happier person.
Julie, that is everything that I want to hear, so thank you very much. It's nice to see you.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Julie and Zoe meet for the first time since leaving the feeding clinic.
Hello. Oh, you're looking fantastic. I'm going to cry for some reason.
I know, because you're wearing bright colours, you're wearing leggings and the dress. It's completely different to how you were.
Shoes that I can't walk in.
Yeah, you're looking amazing.
Let me come and join this happy reunion. How are you both?
Fine, thank you.
Pleased to see each other.
Yeah.
Yes? Do you think she looks different?
She looks fab. She looks glowing, far more healthier. Yeah.
I think you both look great. I really do.
It's Zoe's moment of truth.
Weight gain-wise, you have gained a very respectable 4 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely.
That's fab.
Oh, that's more than I was expecting.
And do you know what? Every single one of those pounds is showing on you in a really good way. Julie, what about you?
Yeah, I hope I've lost weight. I know I've lost something.
Well, I'm a bit disappointed with you.
Oh, God.
Because you haven't lost half a stone. You haven't lost a stone. You've lost 1 stone, 12 pounds you've lost.
Really?
Really? That's nearly 2 stone, nearly. Which is really incredible. But the good news doesn't end there, because also 6.5 inches off your tummy.
Oh, I'm so happy. So happy.
I'm very proud of myself because it just shows that changing my habits and changing my diet and stuff and eating that much more food, it's just showing that it's paid off. So I'm really proud and really happy.
The future is rosy, it'll be healthy, it'll be full of new clothes, brighter clothes. I can't wait.
Next week in the feeding clinic, fast food fan Craig swaps diets with cola addict Simon.
Fish is really not for me.
Dr. Christian discovers how obesity is leading to huge levels of type 2 diabetes in America's fattest city.
All my uncles, my dad, they all died from a couple of things of diabetes.
And Emma Wolfe meets a young mum whose anorexia began in pregnancy.
Felt so guilty, and instead of it driving me to put weight on, it sort of made me want to self-punish more.
Monday night here on 4 Dispatches asks if diet companies are worth their weight. Weight Watchers how they make their millions at 8. Next, will Cupid Zarrow hit its target? The Undateables on the way.